Are you tired of sending texts that feel ignored? You write something real, thoughtful, and all you get is lol, or worse, nothing at all. You start wondering, did I say too much? Should I have waited? Why is she pulling away? Let me tell you the truth, texting is not about saying the right thing. It's about feeling the right energy behind the words. And that energy? It comes from a stoic mindset, a calm presence, an unshakable frame. Today, I'll show you 9 texting secrets that women can't resist because they're not based on tricks. They're based on true power. Let's dive in. Secret 1. Don't start with hey, start with energy. Hey is what every guy says. It feels lazy, empty, forgettable. Instead, send something that makes her feel something. Something curious, playful, or personal. Example: I just saw something that reminded me of you. I'll tell you in a minute. Now she's wondering. She's interested. Mystery creates emotion, and emotion creates connection. Secret 2. Stop texting first all the time. If you're always the one starting the conversation, stop. A man of value doesn't beg for attention. Give her room to miss you. Let her wonder why you're silent. Let her feel the pull to reach out. Texting isn't a race, it's a dance. Sometimes the most attractive move is not making one. Secret 3. Keep your replies short but strong. You don't have to send essays. Long texts can feel like you're trying too hard. They can come off as needy even when you don't mean them to. And most of the time people just skim them anyway. But when your texts are short and they carry intention, they hit different. Short replies say more than long ones when they're calm, clear, and confident. They show that you're not over-explaining, not begging for approval, not trying to fill the silence out of fear. They show you're present, but not desperate. Interested, but not chasing. Take a common moment. She says something funny. Most guys will text back, "Ha ha, that's hilarious, you're so funny, I totally relate to that." That's sweet but forgettable. It feels like every other guy she's ever texted. Now imagine this instead. "Funny, but I'm not convinced." Or, that's bold." Or, "Tell me more." See the difference? These replies are short, but they open doors. They create tension. They invite curiosity. They make her want to explain herself, want to prove something, want to keep the conversation alive. Short doesn't mean dry. It means intentional. It means you're in control of your energy. It means you're not throwing everything out there all at once. Because when you say less, she leans in more. And when a woman is leaning in, she's engaged. She's thinking. She's chasing the next word. And now, you're not just texting, you're creating attraction, quietly, powerfully, stoically. Secret 4. Be calm, even when she's cold. Sometimes, out of nowhere, her energy shifts. Her messages used to feel warm, thoughtful, maybe even excited. Now they feel dry, delayed, distant. You used to get heart emojis, long replies, and late-night conversations. Now it's K, lol, or I'm busy. And if you're not grounded, that shift can send your mind into overdrive. You start thinking, did I mess up? Is she losing interest? Should I fix this? Should I say something? But the worst thing you can do in that moment is panic. Because when you panic, you start reaching. You double text. You explain yourself. You try to fill the silence because the silence makes you uncomfortable. You ask, are we okay? Or did I do something wrong? Hoping it will make her come closer. But in reality, all it does is show that her cold energy has power over you. The truth is not every cold message is a warning sign. Sometimes she's tired. Sometimes she's distracted. Sometimes she's overwhelmed. And yes, Sometimes she's pulling back to see how you respond. Not with words, but with energy. And here's what separates most men from the Stoic man. Most men react. The Stoic man remains calm. He doesn't chase the warmth she used to give. He doesn't fold under the pressure of silence. He doesn't try to win her attention like a prize he's about to lose. He breathes. He focuses. He continues his day. Because his peace doesn't depend on someone else's mood. Because the moment you react to her pullback with anxiety, you hand her the emotional power. And what happens next? She expects a reaction. She's used to guys over-explaining. She's used to attention flooding in the moment she goes quiet. But now, she checks her phone. And there's nothing. No panic, no questions, no validation seeking. Just stillness. And that stillness? It shakes her. Because it tells her something deeper than words ever could. You are stable. You are not easily moved. You are a man who lives with purpose, not panic. And now, you've flipped the energy. She starts wondering, why isn't he chasing? Why is he so calm? Did I just lose his interest? And that curiosity, that emotional pull, it grows stronger the longer you stay rooted. You don't need to play games. You don't need to ignore out of spite. You simply respond when it feels natural. Not when your ego demands it, but when your peace allows it. That's real strength. And in a world where most men crack under pressure, the man who stays calm becomes unforgettable. Because he's rare. Because he's steady. Because he's not trying to control the conversation, he's in control of himself. And when you carry that kind of energy, she doesn't just notice the silence. She feels it. And she comes back, not because you chased, but because you didn't have to. Secret 5. Leave room for imagination. Most men believe connection comes from sharing everything, every thought, every detail, every story. So they text long paragraphs, thinking that being open and descriptive will impress her. They think, if I tell her everything, she'll feel closer to me. But it doesn't work that way. Because when you reveal everything in one message, you take away the most powerful tool in attraction, curiosity. When there's nothing left to wonder about, there's nothing left to chase. Imagine texting her, I had the worst day. My boss yelled at me, I spilled coffee all over myself. I forgot my lunch, then I got stuck in traffic, and now I'm just exhausted. It's honest, it's detailed, but it gives her everything in one go. There's no tension, no spark, no mystery. It's like finishing a movie before she even sees the trailer. Now flip it. Text her something like, today pushed every button I have. I'll tell you about it sometime. Now she's curious. She starts wondering, what happened? Why is he being so vague? What's the story behind that? You've said less, but you've triggered more thought. You've opened a loop in her mind. A story without an ending. That gap between what you say and what you hold back, that's where the connection builds. That's the space where imagination steps in, and imagination always paints with more emotion than words ever can. You don't need to hide who you are. You don't need to be mysterious just to be difficult. But you do need to protect your depth. Let her feel like there's always more to discover about you. Not because you're playing games, but because your life is rich, layered, and not handed out to just anyone. When you reveal too much, too fast, the conversation becomes one-sided. You're doing all the giving, all the explaining, and it starts to feel less like a connection and more like a performance. But when you hold back just a little, just enough to leave her wanting more, you give the conversation space to breathe. You let her meet you halfway. You let her ask the next question. Now it's a dance, not a monologue. And this isn't just about texting, it's about how you carry yourself. The man who doesn't spill everything at once is the man who values his story. He knows his thoughts, his experiences, his time. They're not just content, they're valuable. And not everyone gets full access on day one. That quiet confidence is magnetic. It tells her, without saying it, there's more to me than what you've seen so far, and if you want to know more, you'll have to stay curious. You become someone to explore, not just someone to talk to. So next time you're about to type everything out, pause. Say less but say it better. Give her just enough to make her mind start spinning. Because when she starts imagining, replaying your words, trying to figure you out, that's when you know you've left an impression. And those are the messages she doesn't just read. She feels them. She remembers them. She waits for the next one because she's still thinking about the last. Secret 6. Flirt without needing her reaction. Flirting is where most men lose their power. Not because they don't know how to say something playful, but because they're not flirting from strength, they're flirting from need. They want something in return, a reaction, a compliment, a sign that she's into them, and when they don't get it right away, they start spiraling, they overthink. They wonder if they said too much or not enough. They apologize, they try harder, and in doing that, they kill the energy. That's weak flirting. That's flirting for validation. And women can feel that instantly. Real flirting, the kind that pulls her eyes different. It doesn't chase a reply. It doesn't beg for attention. It doesn't wait with hope in its hands. It simply speaks from calm confidence and then lets silence do the rest. It's saying something playful because you want to say it, not because you need her to approve of it. Like, you'd probably lose in an argument with me, but I'd enjoy watching you try. That one line, it's light. It's teasing, but it carries an undertone of presence and control. There's no pressure behind it. No follow-up text like, "Lol, I was just joking." No. Was that too much? No. Are you mad? Because a man who flirts from strength knows. The point is not to impress Herits, to express himself. He's not flirting to win. He's flirting because he enjoys the moment. And if she leans in, great. If she doesn't, that's fine too. Because his confidence was never built on her reply. That kind of flirting is rare. Because it's free. Free from expectation. Free from fear. Free from overanalysis. And women feel that freedom. They feel it in the way you say less, but with more weight. In the way you don't explain your jokes or check if it landed. In the way you can flirt and then disappear without trying to keep her attention. That mystery, that restraint, that sense of not needing her to give you anything, it's magnetic because she's used to being chased. She's used to men trying too hard, proving themselves, adjusting their tone based on how she reacts. She's used to emotional inconsistency, one message bold, the next one anxious. But when you're steady, when your flirtation is playful and peaceful, when you speak and then go quiet without insecurity, she feels the shift. She starts thinking, how is he so relaxed? Why doesn't he need my response to feel confident? What is it about him that makes me want to reply even though he's not waiting for it? That's what creates tension. Not the flirting itself, but the way you hold your frame after the words are sent. And when you can flirt like that, not chasing, not proving, not depending, you stop being just another guy trying to get her attention, and you become the one she wants to impress. Because women are drawn to men who are emotionally steady, men who don't seek permission to speak freely, men who can be bold, teasing, and calm all at the same time. So flirt. But flirt like a man who knows who he is. Like a man who enjoys the game, but doesn't play for survival. That's how you stand out. That's how she remembers you. And that's how you make her feel something without needing anything. Secret 7. Stop explaining yourself. You don't owe anyone long explanations. Not in life, and especially not in texting. But this is where most men go wrong. The moment a woman asks, "Where were you?" or "Why didn't you reply?" they panic. They feel a rush of guilt, and then the typing begins. A full breakdown of their day. Every little detail, every excuse, every apology. "I was driving, then my battery died, and then I had to go see my cousin, and after that, sorry, I just totally forgot." It sounds polite, it sounds responsible, but underneath it, it's fear. Fear that she'll be upset, fear that she'll pull away, fear that your silence made you seem disinterested or careless. But here's what most men don't realize. Confidence doesn't explain. Confidence doesn't rush to defend itself. It doesn't send proof. It doesn't beg for understanding. It just is. Confidence is silent unless it needs to speak. And in texting where words are all you have, that silence speaks even louder. When a woman asks, "Why didn't you text back?" the weak response is to overcompensate, to prove your worthiness. The strong response is simple, calm, grounded. You say, "I was busy being present," or "I don't live on my phone." And then you stop typing. No apology, no stress, no follow-up message to smooth it out. Because your life doesn't exist inside a screen. Because you were living, thinking, working, reflecting. You weren't rushing to reply, and that's okay. That's not rude. That's healthy. You didn't ignore her. You simply prioritized the real world. And when she sees that, it shifts something. She realizes you're not like most men who rush to explain every gap in attention. You're not a man who texts to fix. You text to connect when the time is right. This kind of restraint is powerful. It shows her that you have your own rhythm, that you're not ruled by guilt or fear, that your world isn't waiting for her approval to feel okay. You don't explain yourself because you're not trying to be understood. You're already complete. You're not available 24/7, not because you're playing games, but because your life has structure, focus, and direction. And here's the beautiful thing. When you stop explaining, she starts wondering, why didn't he over-explain? Why is he so calm about it? Why does it feel like he's completely at peace? That silence, that space, that refusal to over-explain, it creates depth. It says, "I have nothing to prove. I have value whether I reply in 2 minutes or 2 hours. My energy doesn't depend on how fast I text back." And that's rare. Because in a world where everyone is trying to justify themselves, the man who doesn't stands out. So stop explaining. Stop offering paragraphs when one clear sentence is enough. Let your life speak louder than your words. Let your peace fill the space your explanations used to occupy. Because when your energy is calm and your frame is strong, you don't need to say much. And the less you say, the more weight your words carry. That's not just texting with confidence. That's living with confidence. And she'll feel it. Even through the silence. Secret 8. End the conversation first, sometimes. One of the most powerful things you can do while texting is knowing when to stop. Most guys don't. They keep talking just because she's still replying. They keep the conversation going long after the spark is gone, trying to squeeze out every bit of her attention. Not because the moment is right, but because they're afraid that if they don't, she'll lose interest. They think ending the conversation too soon will make them seem distant. So they hang on. They keep texting. They stretch the moment until it feels flat, empty, predictable. But here's the truth. It's not the man who texts the longest who wins her interest. It's the man who knows when to walk away first. Not out of spite, not out of ego, but out of awareness, timing, intention. There's strength in knowing when to pause. There's presence in knowing when to step back even while things are going well. Texting doesn't need to end when the conversation is dying. In fact, it's better to end it when the energy is still alive. That's what leaves her wanting more. Text something like, "Let's pause here. I've got things to handle. Speak soon." No explanation, no over-apology, no soft exit. Just clarity, just control. Because you're not leaving because you're disinterested, you're leaving because you've got a life, a purpose, a rhythm that doesn't revolve around your phone. That one message shifts the dynamic completely. You're not waiting for her to trail off. You're not letting the conversation fade into awkward silence. You're choosing the moment it ends. And when you end things with that kind of energy, she doesn't think, "He's being distant." She thinks, "Wow, he's focused, he's grounded, he's got things to do." And that hits differently. Because most guys are so available, so eager, so hungry for just one more message, they never leave any tension behind. They stay too long, they text too much. And in doing that, they become too easy to forget. But you leave while there's still something left to feel, while her mind is still engaged, while her heart still has something to wait for. And that's where attraction grows in the absence, not just in the presence. It's not about cutting her off. It's about valuing your time and attention enough to walk away while it still matters. And women feel that. They feel when a man is texting out of obligation versus when he's texting from alignment. They feel when you're trying to fill space versus when you're giving space to breathe. They respect the man who knows when to say, "That's enough for now," because it shows leadership, emotional maturity, boundaries, and most of all, self-respect. You're not clinging, you're not stretching the moment just to be liked. You know that a few powerful messages are better than 100 forgettable ones. And the man who ends the conversation with clarity becomes unforgettable. Because when you say, "Let's pause here," and you disappear for a while, she notices the silence. She replays what you said. She waits for you to return, not because you forced her to, but because you left with strength. In a world where men overstay in every chat, the one who leaves with calm control becomes the one who stands out. She starts to respect your time. She starts to crave your presence. And she starts to feel your value without you ever needing to say it out loud. So don't fear ending the conversation first. When you do it with presence and poise, it doesn't close the door. It leaves it slightly open so she's the one who wants to knock next. Secret 9. Make her feel something without trying so hard. Most men think attraction is about saying the right thing. The perfect joke, the smoothest compliment, the cleverest line. They rehearse their messages, rewrite their replies, obsess over how she'll read it, all because they believe that if they just say it perfectly, she'll feel something. But the truth is, women don't remember your words. They remember your energy. They remember how your message made them feel. Safe, curious, drawn in, intrigued, calm, alive. And that feeling, it doesn't come from trying hard. It doesn't come from effort that screams, "Please like me." It comes from presence. From a man who knows who he is. From a man who doesn't need to impress because he's already comfortable in his skin. When you text from a grounded place where you're not rushing, not overthinking, not seeking approval, she feels it. Even through the screen. It's subtle, but it's powerful. Your words come slow, clear, unforced. You're not trying to fill the space, you're letting it breathe. You're not writing to chase a reply, you're writing because it felt right in the moment. And then, you step back, you let it land. That silence between your messages, that calm confidence in your tone, it lingers with her. She doesn't know why she keeps checking her phone, why your last sentence made her stop and smile. Why something in your energy made her heart beat a little faster. And it wasn't the line. It wasn't the wordplay. It was the feeling behind it. Because women are intuitive. They don't just read your words, they read between the lines. They feel your intention, your calm, your certainty, your restraint. You're not begging for her attention. You're not texting out of boredom. You're not hoping she validates your worth. You're just there, present, peaceful, solid. And that kind of presence is rare, especially in a world where men overshare, overtalk, overtext trying to prove something. You're the opposite. You don't over-explain. You don't perform. You speak less, but every word holds weight. You text like a man who has nothing to prove because you don't. You're not texting to gain her attention. You're texting from a place that already has your own. And that's what draws her in. She feels that energy and it sets you apart from every other guy filling her inbox with overused emojis and too much too fast energy. You're not trying to entertain her. You're not trying to be her favorite. You're just being real with presence, purpose, and peace. She may not be able to explain it, but she feels it. And that feeling sticks. Your calm becomes her curiosity. Your restraint becomes her reason to lean in. Your silence becomes the space where she starts wondering about you. And that wondering, that quiet emotional tension, that's how you become unforgettable. Because in a world where everyone's trying too hard to be noticed, the man who isn't chasing, who isn't performing, who's just still, he becomes the one she remembers. Not because he said something perfect, but because his energy was. So remember this. You don't win her over by being the wittiest guy in her inbox. You don't need flawless timing, perfectly crafted replies, or lines that sound like they came from a movie script. That's not what creates real attraction. That's not what makes you unforgettable. You win by being grounded. By showing up as a man who doesn't chase but attracts. A man who doesn't talk just to be heard, but speaks with purpose. A man who doesn't seek attention but commands it, silently. Because women don't fall for men who perform. They fall for men who know themselves. Men who have presence, stillness, calm strength. You don't need to flood her phone to be felt. You don't need to explain yourself to be understood. You don't need to impress her to be respected. You just need to live well, to be rooted, to move through life with intention and clarity. When you text, text to express, not to impress. Speak from a place of truth. Keep your words clean, confident, calm. You don't rush. You don't beg. You don't overcompensate. That kind of energy stands out. Because most men are loud with insecurity. They overtext, overthink, and overreach hoping to be noticed. But you don't need to be seen. You are seen because your stillness echoes. Your presence speaks even when you're not speaking. And when you do speak, it matters. You're not addicted to being in her inbox. You're not trying to force connection. You're not measuring your worth based on how fast she replies. Because you have a life that's full, a mind that's clear, a direction that's already set with or without her response. Let her feel that. Let her feel the silence between your words. Let her wonder where your peace comes from. Because when she sees that you don't need her to center your emotions, she'll want to be around that center. When you're not always available but always intentional, she'll start to lean in. Not because you asked her to, but because your energy gave her no choice. And when you show up after being gone for a while and not to explain, not to entertain, but simply to be, she feels it. She pays attention. Because it's rare. So go live your life. Let your absence remind her of your depth. Let your silence build more connection than any flood of words ever could. Let your presence when it returns feel like a moment of peace in a noisy world. because the man who is full within himself never has to chase connection. It comes to him, and when it does, it stays.